So last month we got the release of the movie Sinners, and I didn't want to personally make a video on it after seeing so many amazingly crafted videos dissecting it, or I mean at least before I got my hands on the Blu-ray disc like I do for all of my other film videos. But back on point, I wasn't gonna make a video until I saw pushback of people saying things like, yeah, this movie is good, but why is it being hyped so much? A lot of people don't understand why a black vampire film is so important to the culture of not only black film, but also original film. I've also seen people online calling this a woke film, and I kind of had to sit there and wonder, what could you possibly be talking about? I didn't even want to think about what these people's definition of woke was, but you know, I'm chronically online, so I sometimes indulge in stupidity. Now, if you did not watch the film, I will give you about 5 seconds as a spoiler warning to get out, have a fun 2-hour experience, and come back. Or you could skip to right here and be just fine. Okay, so regarding what I've seen people say is that Sinners is a white man bad woke film, mainly because of the end of the film where we see KKK members being killed, which is literally one of the coldest scenes in the entire film. Yeah, the terrible scene that all of these losers are talking about is where a man absolutely goes Rambo mode, killing a whole bunch of white supremacists in literally the coolest way possible. First off, if you believe that blowing up KKK members is somehow a white man bad scene, you have to look within yourself and realize what you might actually be getting upset with. And somehow recently, I've been seeing people talk about how these movies have now become woke or political just for having black people in them. And I have to ask the question on if these people just don't know their history, because not only do they somehow blame minorities for this, like they don't understand how Hollywood works, but the phrase is really telling because these films didn't just become political. This is just the first time that you have had to recognize black media at a time when Hollywood could not suppress us. Now that I've gotten you through my intro, I need you to understand that this is not a video about the film Sinners. This is a video about black film and why getting movies like Sinners is so important in this day and age, and I hope that by the end you can understand the point that I'm trying to make. I think the best place to start this is in the 70s, at a time when Hollywood was dying. White families were moving into suburbs away from theaters, and the rise of at-home television had cinema viewership declining. Studios were pouring money into films, trying to get audiences, but were losing significant amounts of money when they didn't perform well. Hollywood was running out of ideas, and after wasting millions of dollars, they came to the conclusion that they would have to do something that they had been avoiding for decades. They would acknowledge their black audience. Throughout the 1900s, the only depictions of African Americans would be through racial stereotypes, like in the film Birth of a Nation, released in 1915, which is regarded as revolutionary for its time, besides the film praising the KKK and having numerous amounts of blackface, trying to dehumanize African Americans as best they could. For years, the only black roles you would see in films that weren't just disgusting blackface caricatures would be, well, disgusting black stereotypes.
Come on in before you catch your death of dampness.
No, I'm going to wait for Pa to come home from the Wilkses.
Come on in here. Come on.
If it wasn't a maid, butler, or any other kind of role serving a white family, black people did not exist. Besides black World War II propaganda and white passing films, nothing changed throughout the 1900s until we reached the Civil Rights era. At a time where everyone was fighting just for equal rights, protests filled with African Americans telling the country that we are humans just like everyone else, that we were artists and creators. Hollywood had decided to implement a new archetype of character for black men, and I like to call it the safe black man.
Lilies of the Field, the story of 5 wonderful women who waited for a miracle and the man from nowhere who made it come true. To be with.
Smith!
See why a big, strong man like this couldn't resist 5 lonely ladies like these.
Now, Sidney Poitier is a very crucial piece to black cinema, as he was one of the first black actors to be on the big screen, not as a butler, but a doctor, teacher, detective, and so much more. He was the first black man to win an Oscar for Best Actor and paved the way for black actors and directors. He is a legend. I only say this with a grain of salt because all of these roles being played were black men written by white men. They wanted to show the version of black people that they would be okay with living in their society. The perfect man, the gentleman, the safe man. This was only good because it was better than its original racist stereotype, but it was a stereotype of its own as well. It was not representation. Having black lawyers and teachers in our cinema was good, but what we needed more was a black hero.
They made your mama! They made your papa!
But he won't bleed me.
This is how we get back to the 70s when director Melvin Van Peebles releases his independent film Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, a film that was pushed by the Black Panthers and NAACP, directed by a black man and for black people. Now the film itself is, well, not the greatest for multiple reasons, but it was a box office hit. Who would have thought that after decades of not being represented correctly, black people would fill up theaters to see a film made for them? This happened around the same time of Hollywood looking for someone to save them, and after seeing the success of Sweetback, had found it. Studios had started to make deals with black directors to start pushing black films. Hollywood had been trying to find ways to make back its white audience without realizing that their black audience made up 30% of moviegoers. But after acknowledging them, would start to mass produce these films. This era would be known as the Blaxploitation era, where we would get notable films like Superfly, Coffee, Shaft, Claudine, and Ganja and Hest, just to name a few. And this really is just to name a few, because by the end of the 70s, over 200 films in the genre had been created. These films would be cemented into black history as being the first films to explore African Americans with humanity, showing themes of black heroes, love, masculinity, emotion, and overall black art. On top of these films being a big part of the culture, they were also exciting as shit. These new movies of the Blaxploitation era stood out and consisted of black men and women in their actual community dealing with actual problems, and was able to balance being political with being highly entertaining with amazing soundtracks. They were really low cost to make and made Hollywood millions. And so they started to mass produce these movies, trying to squeeze out as much profit as possible. Blaxploitation had become a formula for studios to use as a product. That meant that every film had to be crazier than the last. Black film projects would only get funded if they followed the Blaxploitation formula and slowly started to take the actual point of these films out. The genre of film that was a political statement and highly entertaining covering the black community turned into a caricature of what it used to be. Oversaturation filled the genre, and the elephant in the room was starting to get noticed. The more that Hollywood got their hands on black film, the less that it felt like representation, and the more that it felt like exploitation. It turned from everyone joining in and laughing with black people to laughing at us. It felt as if new stereotypes had been pushed, and of course it was better than what we were getting, but I will say that when it's the only side of black culture that was being shown, it was damaging. There was a divide. We just wanted a seat at the table, and Hollywood abused that. Groups like the Black Panthers, that had once pushed some of the first films of the genre, had begun to protest against the showings of these films. The NAACP had helped form the Coalition Against Blaxploitation, demanding that they stop pushing these kinds of films that depicted black people like this. This pushback added on to the fact that after oversaturating the market, these films started making them less money. Hollywood agreed to quit making these films, and that meant the end of Blaxploitation. But this didn't mean that they were going to start putting better representations of black people in their films. In the end, a lot of black directors and actors were lost to an era and could not find work in the film industry after this. The production of black films went down immensely through the rest of the 70s, and it would stay like that all the way up until the 80s until something happened. Well, until Spike Lee happened. Now in the mid-80s, a new era had been birthed by legend Spike Lee. At a time when black people could not get films put on the big screen, the answer to this problem was to do it yourself by any means possible. In 1986, Spike Lee would release his debut film, She's Gotta Have It, and he fully funded the film without any studios and filmed it on his own block. This film would inspire African Americans to release independent films again. Not even a year later, we would get the film Hollywood Shuffle by Robert Townsend, a film he funded independently and made a huge profit from.
Hi, my name is Robert Townsend, and it's hard to make a movie in Hollywood, but I did, with the help of a few friends and a few credit cards.
These films showed Hollywood again that black films could make a profit and birthed a golden age of black film, where we basically got most of our classics from. Some notable films being Do the Right Thing, Juice, Love Jones, Boys in the Hood, and all of these. Now the reason why I wanted to make this video was because I recently did a binge of all the classic black films and had an amazing time watching them. I went through the directors to see more of their movies just to notice something a little strange. Most of them only directed one film. And this is where I got into research mode because there were just too many directors from this era that had made classic films that would make you think, oh wow, their career will be set for decades, just for them to only have one film. That is when I found an article where all of these directors I was looking into, all these years later, are speaking out about their unfair treatment in Hollywood. Looking into this more, you find out that all these directors didn't just make one film and decide to just leave Hollywood, they were blocked. We see once again that studios only see black people as trends, and this was already shown in the 70s just for it to happen again in the 90s. The only thing that these people saw was money. Movies like Boys in the Hood were getting pushed and funded because that was a box that Hollywood saw these black films to be in. Studios killed creativity for profit. The director of Love Jones didn't get other chances in filmmaking because even though the film was a black classic, Hollywood could not understand black love. The director of Juice not only had his classic film's ending changed, but Hollywood took over a lot of his vision in his second film and ruined his chances of getting another movie director role after the film bombed. Matty Rich, the director of Straight Outta Brooklyn, only got to make 2 films that were amazing before getting put into what is called director jail. So many black directors had the same experiences trying to step into the industry. If you weren't trying to make a film that fit this small box that Hollywood put black films into, it wasn't worthy of being a black film. Going through the 2000s, we would see a lot of the things that Hollywood Shuffle warned us about when being a black actor in Hollywood. We got a whole bunch of black characters written by white people that obviously is just what they think we act like. If we wanted actual black movies made by black people, it was always a Tyler Perry film, and it's never some kind of real art with any substance. Hollywood does not understand what black representation in film is. They think that it is replacing white characters with black ones. They think that it's adding one black character to their horror movies and then killing them off immediately. It feels like we haven't evolved from Hollywood only making us butlers and maids in films. And somehow, after all these decades of African Americans just fighting to get on the big screen, we have people pushing back against the small amount of representation we get. We get told to make our own films with original characters, not knowing how hard it is to get real black original films greenlit. There are so many Kickstarters with amazing black stories that don't reach their goals in time. Every black film is labeled as either woke or political, just for being black. In recent years, we have finally been getting more black films with amazing representation with the releases of Get Out, They Clone Tyrone, Nope, Moonlight, One of Them Days, and Sinners, just to name some of the notable ones. On the TV side, we have amazing black shows being released like Atlanta, Insecure, The Vince Staples Show, and Abbott Elementary. Even on YouTube, we have people like RDC that recently released their own original short film that I think deserves all the love. The big issue with Hollywood that they have always had is that they do not understand the audience. They are disconnected. They don't understand why 20 Marvel films every year aren't pulling in profit like they used to. They don't understand why the 5 yearly remakes or sequels aren't doing good. It's because that's not what anyone asked for. Blackness aside, all that people want in general in film is some originality. And Hollywood won't fund these original films because they don't understand how they can make money. Something amazing that I've been seeing is how these new original films are not only box office hits, they are completely new IPs, and best of all, they're black. This is showing Hollywood not only that original films are what people yearn for, but it is black films. Everyone is coming outside to see black films. Sinners is breaking all of the records. One of Them Days was a box office hit with black female leads. When people think of horror, everyone is waiting for the next Jordan Peele movie. When people think of some of the best TV shows in the past decade, Atlanta is in the conversation. Snowfall is in the conversation. No matter being stopped so many times, we are still pushing forward and breaking through. Hollywood thought that audience wouldn't want to watch black films that didn't fit the formula they had crafted, and had been proven wrong once again, like they have been for decades. Now for the end of this video, I just wanted to take the time to show love to all the directors that paved the way for black film, and we'll be putting them right here. If you watched my video and there was anything you wanted to bring up or ask, you could always leave it down in the comments. This was something that I spent months working on, just studying black film, making sure that I got the history right as a black man that is younger than when a lot of these films were released, so I hope you all enjoyed. There are a large handful of other creators with amazing videos that cover black film that I believe deserve just as much love as you showed this one, and I will be linking them down in the comments. I want to say thank you to everyone that went on this journey with me, and just would like to say thank you so much to my subscribers as well. We just reached 500 subscribers recently, and you guys rock. I hope that you guys have had an amazing day, and before I go, I just want to say two things. First thing is, go watch Love Jones. And the other thing is that if you see someone online saying anything bad about the film centers in any way possible, tell them to shut up. Peace.
Classes are enrolling now. Learn to play TV pimps, movie muggers, street punks. Courses include Jive Talk 101, Shuffling 200, Epic Slaves 400, Dial 1-800-555-COON.
Got back in school.